Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zack Cherry, and with me, as always, is...
Nope. Eddie of Edward is Truth.
Way to give away the title. Well, I mean, I guess it's up there, and it's on the title if you clicked on it. But yeah, we are finally going over. When I say finally, it just came out. I mean, ish.
But everyone's been clamoring for
We've
this.
been clamoring for
days.
Jordan Peele's latest movie, released July 22nd, 2022. And I guess finally, because we've been preparing for this, we did Get Out back in a month earlier this year. I can't remember. Sure. And then we did Us shortly thereafter, leading up to No Peers. So do you wanna start us off with a synopsis? I know that's your favorite part.
Oh yeah, it's my absolute favorite part. Let me just pull up IMDb here, and okay. I didn't work that hard on this one, so.
Oh, that's okay.
It's going to be short. After random objects falling from the sky result in the death of their father, ranch-owning siblings OJ and Emerald Haywood attempt to capture video evidence of an unidentified flying object with the help of tech salesman Angel Torres and documentarian Antlers Holst. Nope. That's all I got.
What's been going on?
The more I thought about like creating a synopsis, it's such a large film, I will say that. And yet it is relatively isolated. Yeah. It's just, the more I try to think of like, the details that you try to hype up a movement, and the more also thinking that there may be people watching this who haven't seen the movie yet because people do that. I just thought, well, why give the spoilers right at the beginning?
Yeah. It's new, and you haven't had enough time to digest. It fully yet. So as compared to a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th,
or even Us,
which but we've seen like for years and years that you can easily, you don't even have to look up on IMDb, you can just like come up with something on the spot. So, that's cool. I don't know. I thought maybe you were just tired or something, because I am.
Yes.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Yeah. Fun fact.
Interesting tidbit.
I got COVID after avoiding it for over 2 years. It just kind of snuck up on me there. So, hopefully my energy might be a little bit lower today.
Hopefully.
Did I?
You said hopefully your energy might be a little.
Case in point, I don't know what the fuck is going on right now. It's gonna be a fun episode. That's all I'll say.
And I'm just sick. I don't have any fancy COVID or nothing. I'm just.
You're just sick.
I just have a cough. Yeah, I'm just sick of Zack. That's why I'm here. That's why I just read straight off IMDb.
So okay, let's get into kind of like our initial thoughts here. I think I already know where you stand, because there was just maybe the way that you spoke about it might have been a little telling, but let's see how right my read is.
Okay, so just kind of overall?
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, that's what I got in my read off of you. It's fine.
What about you?
I liked it. I thought it was an improvement over Us. I think like all the things that we discussed in that episode, more so in just like the terms of like the issues that I had with that movie, which I think, if I recall, were more part of like the logistical things that had to do with Us. And I feel that with that movie, Jordan Peele attempted to offer answers to things that didn't really need to be answered. It almost kind of like ruined the mystique of the movie and the horror and the tethered people just by revealing all the information about, like, you know, that they were clones or just like created underground and like all that stuff. Whereas I feel like here there's like all that ambiguity is just remains present. You know, we don't get answers to certain things. We're not told stuff. There's an entire B storyline which is basically the essence of like what I believe its purpose in this movie is to basically just be like subterfuge to confuse us and just make us like wonder like, hey, what's the meaning of that? What's that? And it probably doesn't mean anything. So I liked this. Like I felt this was like more of an adventure. Like definitely like if we're comparing it in terms of like the horror, Us, you know, delivers on that front a lot more. This is a much different movie, and I think that, you know, what I said in the last podcast for Us is that Jordan Peele's never going to make the same movie twice. Every single one of his movies are going to be completely different. Like we're never going to be able to predict what's coming next. And I think that for people who have like I've noticed that it seems like it's generally had a very positive reception, but there have been a few people I know. I'm not throwing him under the bus. I know that he's very open about this, but Andre, our editor, he went and saw the movie and like immediately like messaged me after and was just like, I hated it. I don't know, you know, because he didn't like Us either. Really liked Get Out. So it's almost like this, just going from like one movie to the next, of just like being more disappointed with every Jordan Peele movie. So I think for maybe a lot of people, they're realizing that Jordan Peele is not the director for them. And I can certainly understand that. I think that what Jordan Peele is doing is he's creating a brand for himself based on the buzz around him. Like he's making these movies that are not necessarily movies that are great, or necessarily like mean something greater than that they are, but they're movies that people analyze. And there's not a lot of movies that are being made like nowadays that people really analyze and like not just analyze but overanalyze. So he's figured it out. It's almost like if he was like if he wasn't a director, if he was like a YouTuber, he would probably be like have like 100 like Mr. Beast levels of subscribers with only like 3 videos, because it's just that would be his thing. He only like put a video out every couple of years, but it would be like the video of like the year that you had to watch, and very like clickbaity, just in terms of, you know, getting people's attention and then getting like the comments and stuff, because that's what these movies are. They're just like not to diminish the quality, because I did really enjoy the experience of seeing this movie, and I want to see it again. I didn't get to, but I think that that's something that you should do, like with Jordan Peele movies. Like see it once for yourself, like for the initial cinematic experience, and then see it a second time to analyze it, to dissect it and figure out certain things. And if you can still get more out of it after each returning visit, then you're probably a fan. But, you know, after the first 2 or even first, you're not into it, then no. Nope. You know?
I took all my notes, not during the movie, because I forgot my tablet with me. So I was very much like watching the movie.
Tablet in the theater.
Like, well, I mean, my paper. Yeah, like I've done it.
Oh,
before.
I thought you meant like an iPad.
No, not like an iPad. No,
I can
no,
just
I
see
mean, like
you
an
in the
actual,
theater with
an
like
actual
the light,
tablet. No,
sitting in
and
the
I didn't
back
take
row.
any. No, I'm old and I scribe. So
Right.
that's what I would have usually done. And even like in a dark movie theater, sometimes, like if it's a day scene, you can still kind of see the page and you can scribble things. And then as long as you do it
Sure,
immediately,
yeah.
once the lights bump back up, you can go back and see if everything is legible and still kind of remember what you wrote. So if you need to refine it for later, you can. But that wasn't the case. So instead, I just sat there and experienced the movie. And while the end credits rolled, I pulled out my phone and I wrote down kind of every thought that occurred to me. And I kept doing that afterwards because I did go down a bit of a rabbit hole after I saw it because I was very curious about how other people were receiving it and what they were getting from it, if I was alone. And I'm not, but it was, that's the thing is like, there's something to what you said about like, these movies being open to discussion and to analysis. And I think that's actually probably going, hopefully, to be the thing about Jordan Peele movies. I feel like he's almost kind of going into an M. Night Shyamalan-esque area in terms of like garnering a lot of attention. Like, I mean early Shyamalan, when everybody, Sixth Sense came out and everybody was like gaga and wanted to see immediately like what is going to come next from this filmmaker.
Yeah.
And the more movies he released, the more kind of diverse the crowds seemed to be in their opinions of what it was he was putting out.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
like there were still people who were championing it and who were, saying at least he's not making the same film over and over again. But it became abundantly clear more and more that, okay, so he's not everybody's director like we kind of assumed he would be after the first movie that everybody kind of jointly. I don't know anybody who doesn't like The Sixth Sense, even if they watch it with spoilers. Like, there's still people who take a great deal of it. And I don't know people who don't like Get Out, but I have, seen opinions, and I talked a little bit about them in the pod about some ignorance, the people expressing opinions that I think are born in ignorance and that are just kind of like, okay, you need to listen. But but with it's interesting because the first thing that happened while I started typing, I wrote, I wonder if this many people would be trying to figure it out if it didn't have Jordan Peele's name attached. Because I already knew, just based off of the response to the trailer, that there were threads on like Reddit and Twitter and whatnot of people analyzing just what was going on in the movie trailer or trailers and going like, oh my gosh, okay, I know exactly what this is. This is about and they just a whole like essay, within a thread of tweets and whatnot.
I wish trailers did not even exist anymore. If I never saw a movie trailer again, I mean, movie trailers for things that I don't know about, like, more like independent movies, that's fine. Those are the only ones that deserve trailers, because those are the ones that need to get that outreach and get our attention to have us see it. Movies of, like, Nope and Halloween Ends and shit like that, like, they don't need trailers. We don't need to see trailers for the movies. All you need to do is, like, here I am going back to The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Gabbo. In big letter, Gabbo. That's all. Nope. And that's all you need with a movie like this. And I feel like, to their credit because I saw the trailer for this, and nothing really, at least the first one, I didn't watch any of the ones after that. It didn't really give
Me neither.
any of the plot away. It was just very vague, which is how it should be, which is totally fine. But we've talked about trailers before. We don't need to get into it. But I did want to say, I don't know that M. Night Shyamalan's just the comparison is really that fair, because I mean, he was very successful and popular. At the beginning, like the first three, which I think were Sixth Sense, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs. Funny that his third movie was also an alien one. But his movies, I don't know if they were like so much as built on like the discussion and the analysis, as much as it was just sort of like the whatever the twist was and how the twist was sort of like held in secrecy throughout the first like 2/3 or 3/4 or whatever of the movie. So his like as a director, he like his shtick is basically plot twist, and anyone can do a plot. Like, you know, we talked about plot twists with Identity, and you know, there's a way you can do them successfully, and there's a way that you can do them not successfully. And I think that probably The Sixth Sense, which I haven't seen in years and years, was a successful plot twist, but you know, most of his movies thereafter probably didn't. And also the fact that once you become known as the guy who that's your thing is plot twists, everyone's gonna be expecting a plot twist. Like the best kind of plot twist is the one where you're not necessarily seeing what the twist is, but you just don't even necessarily know that there is a twist.
Right, and that's all I meant. If I misspoke, then I apologize. But I didn't mean that Jordan Peele is the new M. Night, as in he's doing the same shtick. But I mean, he has this expectation built up around him. Now, like with M. Night, we were all going in and expecting the twist, and with Jordan Peele, I feel like audiences are all revved up to find out what does it really mean. Like, what is the social commentary? What is the cultural significance that he's attacking, so much so that people will go see a trailer and then see another trailer and come up with theories about the story he's telling and what it's about and everything like that. And what was funny was in my rabbit hole that I fell down on YouTube afterwards, I did find the cast, the four primary members of the cast, reading the off of Reddit and Twitter and everything like that, a lot of the fan theories just about the trailer. I think it was released like a month, maybe 2 months ago, and they're sitting there just discussing like the fact that they are all wrong, and just laughing and having like a really, really good time and going like, wow, people are really just like, but that's interesting, you know, like whatever, and they're just and just having, you know, like, I don't know, making fodder and making content on their own just to keep Nope like in, you know, discussion and everything like that. But
they gotta hype
I
it.
think, I guess. But for me, okay, the next thing I wrote was, and this might seem harsh. I'll get to the things that I like later, because I'll just lead with all the harsh stuff.
Before we get into that, I just want to. I mean, I pretty much I think I know where you stand. But what's your current Jordan Peele ranking?
I mean, it doesn't feel fair, but I'd probably rank this at the bottom, and Get Out would be way above it, and then Us would be just above Get Out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about you?
If we're going from bottom to top, I would say Us, Nope, Get Out. Get Out is a lot higher.
Okay. Yeah, we had very different experiences watching this movie.
I mean,
and granted, I've only had the one.
I'm with you on this. Like, it was fine. I just think that, like, you know, it was fun. It felt like a movie. It felt like an experience. You know, it was. Whereas, I mean, not to say that like his other, like Us, you know, didn't, but there was like a kind of like an epicness to it. Actually, it's funny that there's, and I've heard this. There, because we're talking about directors. There was a lot of people saying that there was a lot of Quentin Tarantino vibes to it. Oh, really?
Heard that at all. Though I've heard
especially at the end with the like the dust settling and him being on the horse there. But I definitely got that vibe when I left the movie, just feeling like, you know, this did feel very like, it felt like a linear Quentin Tarantino movie with, of course, like the what's the Gordy, the chimp, the show.
That one.
Gordy's home, or whatever. Where they kept like
Gordy,
going back.
Where's Gordy or something like that.
I think it's Gordy's home, where they kept going back to that, like a few times throughout. But like for the most part, it just felt like it was a very like a linear told Quentin Tarantino movie.
And see, the director that I've heard associated with it in terms of like what it's echoing for people a lot, and this may make more sense why maybe I'm not responding to it more favorably, is Spielberg. And particularly in terms of like where it goes story wise, in terms of like and Jordan Peele has even gone on to say like he referenced not like references that you can catch like Easter eggs or anything like that within the movie, but just in terms of the course of the story and and kind of what he used to influence, I guess, the overall flow were Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Well, for us, there, because we talked about it, there was like a whole list of movies that he chose for the cast to watch. It was what he dubbed a shared language that they would all have by watching all the movies. So I'm sure he probably did the same thing for Nope as well as Get Out when he did that as well. So there, I mean, I can see that. I can definitely see I've never seen Close Encounters, but I can pick up on the Spielberg vibes. Yeah. I get the more like Quentin Tarantino in the way that it's sort of like the Western adventure type, like not really his style, just more so like the storytelling. But continue on with where you were going before I asked you to rank the movie.
Oh, okay. The next note that I wrote down, again, this may sound harsh, but I feel like it's true for me. I wrote the least momentum of any Jordan Peele project yet. Because for me, I was thinking like, we discussed Get Out, it feels very contained, very on the rails, and it feels like a very kind of like premeditated experience as I go through it. Like even the things that may surprise me, they don't bowl me over and go, what? It's more just kind of like, if noise can communicate the difference in my response. With Us, I remember the ambiguity was definitely more abundant and I think more utilized with Us. But there was something about it, even though there was ambiguity and it didn't seem to be on a course, there was definite momentum. I definitely felt something was driving me into the next moment, every moment of that film. For the most part, except for just like a little bit when she's going down, we've talked about that, just the escalator and all, and how long it takes her to get down to the rabbits and to Red. But for the climax, that's the exception. The rest of it just feels so incredibly driven to me. This one, I felt it was like a bunch of stuff happening, and I was learning a lot about, well, not even a lot. I was learning bits and pieces here about like the contexts of relationships, like between the brother and the sister, and like kind of people's history and like what their predilections are and and also just kind of setting up things that are interesting, like they're well acted and everything like that. But I didn't understand where I was going, and I didn't feel a lot of the time like I was being led anywhere. It was just kind of like a camera was being pointed at stuff happening, and after a while it just made me ask, but of what consequence is any of this? And particularly as we got to, I'd say, the last hour, I was very fidgety, and I was very just not nervous, but like impatient. I was like, okay, can we get to it? Like get to something, please? It's not that I'm bored, but I am impatient. This movie is trying my patience.
I agree with everything you're saying, and I definitely feel that like pacing wise there are a lot of issues, and I don't really remember if we talked about pacing with Us. Honestly, I can't remember a whole lot right now, but But I will say that that doesn't bother me as much, because like I was saying with Jordan Peele, the experience is about analyzing the movie. Like his movies are so analytical in the way that you have to approach them that it's almost like a different level of watching a movie or experiencing the movie. So if you're going to a movie and like, you know, you only have like one sort of sensory that you approach it with, yeah, you're probably not going to like it. Or even like Jordan Peele as a director. But I think like, because of just like what his thing is, that, you know, he's tapping into that market, that niche that is, you know, free up for grabs, that, you know, he's saying that like people are clamoring for, and he's going for it. And the people who, you know, don't like it are not going to like it, and, you know, the people that do are going to be crazy about it. I just don't think that, like, even if you don't enjoy it or you just think it's fine, I still think that there's so much in these movies that even if it was like underwhelming as compared to, you know, his previous movies, it's not fair to say that this is a bad movie, because I still feel that like it's so refreshing that we're even getting movies like this in this day and age, where, I mean, not to say that, you know, it's completely 100% original, but it is certainly more original than anything else that we're getting. And that in and of itself is, you know, something to be said for, and something that needs to be supported and pushed upon people like Jason Blum, to let them know that we don't want the same old retreaded shit over and over again. Give us something new, because, you know, while Jordan Peele might not appeal to the entirety of the masses, there might be another director who comes in and they know how to corner that market and, you know, get that crowd of people who didn't like Nope. Because, you know, it's upsetting that if, like, the only thing people want to see nowadays is just another fucking, like, I don't want to say it because people are going to get mad at me. But, you know what I mean.
Recycled material.
It's just like, basically, even if this movie was disappointing to you, it shouldn't be a disappointment that it exists. The fact that it's even here, like, that we have a variety of movies coming out in 2022, like, that's something special for the genre.
I agree. I mean, I definitely, it felt like I was doing my due diligence actually going to see it. And I did wonder, like, what my experience would be, because I did see it alone, and I did wonder if it would have been a shared experience. I did look, because I did, like I said, it did meander for me. And yeah, you know me, I'm a huge fan of the slow burn, but I need to feel like I'm in good hands. And I felt like I was in good hands with Jordan Peele, but I just kind of felt like, buddy, where are we going with this? But I did look around, cast glances at the few people that I could see who were in the movie theater with me. And whenever I did that, they were all in their recliners. That's the kind of seats we had at the movie theater that I went, and they all had the you know, they were fully reclined, and they all just seemed just completely spaced out and were just placidly just looking on. That said, I overheard an exchange between two young men while I was typing in my my notes, my reactions, my thoughts over the end credits, and one of them just said, "My God, right?" Like, totally impressed. And the other guy was just like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't see a trailer for it." And he's like, "You didn't see a trailer?" He's like, "I knew nothing going in, man, and I am so glad I did." And it was like, "Oh my God." And then you knew it was just continuing as they were leaving, and I was just kind of like, wow, like they really liked it. And I you know, anyway, but this is the thing.
That's special. That's special, though.
Totally.
People feel that way.
Yeah, and I love that there can be that very kind of a varied reaction to a film like that. I was just like, they did not see the movie I just saw. But and so I agree with you in terms of, like, it being made. Like, I don't regret it being made or anything like that. I actually did wonder if it was my problem going into a Jordan Peele movie with my own expectations. And I try to go in with no expectations. And I watched the first trailer because I had to, because I think it was in front of 2 or 3 movies that I'd seen this year. And of course I saw it the day that it dropped on the internet once. And I was like, okay, the ticket's bought. I don't need to see anymore. And it just kept, it's like drumming in my head. You will see this movie. And I'm like, yes, I will. But I wonder if even trying to leave your bias at the door, even if it's a favorable bias, I wonder how successful you can be when you have been so affected by the director in the past, when his name is so incredibly, I mean, it feels like you're watching Jordan Peele's Nope, and when it's so undeniable. And there's I just wonder how successful I was at like walking in with zero expectations. I don't know that I was, and I don't know if that's fair to Jordan Peele. I wonder if I'd seen it just as a movie, just like as a lark, not knowing that his name was attached to it. Mm-hmm. If I would have been looking for meaning, if I would have been waiting for something, if I would have had the same experience or a vastly different experience, I don't know. I did. This is another thing. I like all of these actors, and there were moments where I really appreciated what they were doing. I love Daniel Kaluuya. We talked about it. We referenced it in the Get Out pod about his stillness and his, being basically like our Avatar character to like kind of move through the movie with, and his reactions are like our reactions, and his reticence is like a shared. Not even a wink, but like a share, I don't know, like a secret handshake with the audience. Like he's really, really good at like drawing us in. And yet I watched him play another relatively passive character. I actually thought about Brody in Jaws. And so I watched him play like a really kind of highly internal character who's, not really, really comfortable like in a room, like taking the attention, and, like when he's trying to like, explain the horse and trying even to tell people like safety wise, like you can't do this and this can't be done, and someone ended up getting almost injured and all of that. All of this stuff that we were learning about
I don't
him,
see that, like in comparison to Brody and Jaws as, his fault. No. They were ignoring him. There was like, okay, and that's funny because there was sort of this, because like Jordan Peele, like he's even gone on record to state, like, like Get Out is very much about race, but Us was not, and neither was this one. It's just kind of like, we're making movies that have representation in them and in the main characters. Mm-hmm. But there is a moment at the beginning in that scene in question where there is some microaggressions. That what's that?
When he tells them his name is OJ, and the woman's just kind of like, oh, yeah. And she's not sure how to feel about that. It's like, it's a name. You can leave that. Yeah.
I mean, there was that, and just the fact that they are like, kind of like hurrying him and not listening to the warnings. So I don't think that he's a Brody type character. Like he's like passive in that way, but nothing is ever his doing. He doesn't create any of the. Well, the issues.
No, but in terms of just like I feel like, because the way I described Brody in that pod was a man versus environment kind of situation, and it's definitely that. Like he's a man who is taking things in and just kind of like, and I feel like I could count the lines that he had maybe on my fingers and my toes, But so I mean, a reticent, and it made me think about Brody. I'm not saying he is Brody, but it kind of made me think about it, especially when. Keke Palmer comes in as Emerald, and I felt like, oh my God, this is fresh in my mind after we had recorded the other pod where we were discussing foils, and I was just, and I was like, I'm your foil. I think Emerald is definitely OJ's foil. Because she's so vivacious and so just kind of like walking in, hey, whatever. And just a very, very different energy, but also lacks focus. Mm-hmm. He's got the focus. Yeah. He's keeping the train on the tracks, but she's the one who's just kind of like wandering off to go flirt with the girl at the craft
little
table.
Detail that I really liked was, and this is in the trailer, is when she's like, and that man was my great-great-granddaddy. And then that's when OJ's like, great. And she's like, there's another great in there. But if later on in the film you see her and she's watching the video of her dad, by the way, Keith David, who was not in this enough. We needed more of him.
I needed so much more Keith David in this movie.
Right? But the video, just because basically you're right. She doesn't have the focus. Her talent is just kind of like picking up all these things. So she's basically watched her dad's video of that reciting that speech to the point where she can recite it like verbatim, but not realize that now there's a generation removed. So she would have to add the other great. So that's why in his video he just says great, great. And she repeats it as great, great, but then that's where he's like, great. And she's like, there's another great.
And I loved her energy. My God, she drew the eye so much. This is the thing. The moments where you really got to see the brother-sister dynamic between the two of them, I wanted more of that too. That's where I feel like I got traces of things. I could tell the actors worked on these things, like their backstories and their histories, and even in the case of like some others, just like what their own motivations toward things. It's not all completely laid out for us, and I appreciate that too. But the thing is, I just wish it were a little bit more rich. I don't need it like pushed in my face, but I was jonesing for just maybe a little bit more form.
It just wasn't that movie,
Yeah, and it wasn't, and that's fine. And Jordan Peele has gone on record saying he's very, very proud of it, and good for him. And again, I wonder what the second viewing is going to be like now that I know what to expect. I mean, we never really know anything, but now that I know kind of like the course it takes and where to go, I wonder what it's going to be like sitting and seeing it with a familiarity, if I'm going to have the same kind of antsiness that I had the first time.
Yeah. Well, how long is it? It's over like 2 hours, right?
It is over 2 hours. Oh, that was another thing, because I felt like if they didn't add more to it in terms of like not even exposition, but maybe just like bulk of character and just more endearing moments and more, I don't know, 2
hours and 10 minutes.
If we didn't add more, we could definitely have subtracted something. I felt like I did wonder while I was watching it, like, what would I feel if I saw like a 90-minute edit of this? Maybe it would suck. Maybe it would feel like, oh, you need to take more time. You need, I don't know. Yeah. But it did occur to me while I was sitting there because my leg was bouncing. Also, Stephen Yeun as Jupe Park. I love Stephen Yeun. His, shall we say, exit from the Walking Dead series is the reason, and the way he exited is the reason I stopped watching. Because I love him.
I'm pretty sure I stopped watching way before that because I just got so bored. I think in like season 4. I was just like,
it was. I mean, there were stronger moments than others, but by the time he was off the show, I was like, and the way he was, I was like, I'll never recover. I don't know. But something about because he's another actor who always draws my eye, who always seems to have something going on, and he seems to have made a choice personally about like the way he's going to conduct himself in a scene, and also doesn't seem to be horribly affected by a rehearsed feel. Like, it does feel largely spontaneous, and just kind of watching him break down like his history as a child actor and have that little wing of like memorabilia from the television show and everything like that. And let's get let's get into that, because I think that the probably like the most talked about aspect of the movie is the Gordy's home thing, because that's like the biggest like what the fuck of the movie. That's how the movie starts, of this sort of this flashback to 1998 of just on the set with this massacre, and you don't really get any more context to it other than that. You just see that it's a set. There's like the applause sign in the background, and you see the monkey with the blood and all that, and then it just goes right back to the movie. But then like every time it goes back
a little bit more, or we get more information, which in the scene that you're talking about where he's just like, oh, the Mad Magazine parody, or like there's an SNL skits
in
and
the 90s,
and all that. And it's just like, because I feel like as a made up show, almost like the infamy behind that, because that's like obviously something that has never aired, within the universe of Nope, that that's something that's so appealing to people, because it's like it's a thing that's almost like it exists in real life. Like it's almost meta in a way, because it's like it exists alongside with like SNL and Mad Magazine and like all the stuff in Hollywood, like with like the first ever motion picture of a horse and a man on a horse and all this stuff. So it's like it's almost like it is real. It should be real life to us, and it's like this thing that we would have never known about because it got pulled from the air because of this murder. But not only that, because I mean that in and of itself is just this thing that would just make it like go down in history of just like infamy
as a legend. Absolutely.
But also the fact that the questions that people are going to be asking of like, how does this tie in with the rest of the movie? So I think that it's more so just in terms of like the kind of the idea of controlling animals and how, because it's, we see that with the scene where the horse kicks the person and that, because it's just, it keeps going back to this message that you can't control these beasts. And, we see that with the alien later on. You can't look at it. You can't look them in the eye. Yeah. And it's almost like Jupe, in that experience, it doesn't realize that, like, he's not... like, everyone else had eye contact with the chimpanzee, except for him, because he was... or, like, the tablecloth was covering him. Right. So he thought that he had like some sort of control over Gordy, or the chimp that played Gordy, that's why he kind of went on to be the Jupiter's claim, whatever they called him, where he's like, wrangling horses and feeding them to aliens and whatever, because he thought that he had some sort of like special kinship with it. The only thing that doesn't make sense, which I thought maybe you have a theory on, is the shoe that's standing upright.
Right. Okay. There's a lot to address here. Because I was one of those people who walked away from the movie. Why? Just going like, why was that chimp thing? I mean, it was interesting. That was actually some of the most interesting stuff that happened for me in the movie, were those scenes. And not just because I was wondering, when is this all going to make sense? I was also terrified. I loved the juxtaposition of this frothy, completely dismissible 90s, typical 90s nothing sitcom, with like a laugh track and a bunch of stupid people also just like laughing at it. Because that definitely existed in the 90s. And then I liked I love that you brought up the issue of control, because that's something I didn't think about. But in terms of the use of this wild animal, because all I think of now, thanks to like maybe the last 2 decades, anytime I hear anything about chimpanzees or any kind of apes that isn't like tied into like, movies like Planet of the Apes, or tied into like Jane Goodall or anything like that, it's usually about some idiot having a chimp like in their home as a pet or whatever, and somebody's jaw gets broken off their, like, out of their skull and dies horribly because they dyed their hair a different color, or they cut their hair, or just because the chimp went mad one day. And it was totally in line with my thinking. Like, I see a chimp on a set and I'm just like, there are a lot of factors that could affect an animal in a completely non-predictable way that is totally predictable. Back to Jaws, it's unpredictable until it's totally predictable. And but what I felt while I was kind of like falling down my rabbit hole and everything, I watched Jordan Peele talk about it and just the movie in general. And one thing he said, not directly in reference to the chimp, but in reference to the symbolism of the movie overall, which I think is largely, that whole branch of the story is largely comprised of symbolism. He used a word, spectacle. He said the movie's all about spectacle. And I thought, okay, I don't think he's just talking about ooh, ah, and everything like that, but in terms of like what we make spectacles of, like, what do we showcase for other people and everything like that. And I'm like, all right, that's interesting. Then I watched one review from Dan Murrell on YouTube, and he used a word that actually really kicked it into gear for me and got my brain thinking. He used the word exploitation. And that's when I thought about, that's exactly what they did with the chimp, is they exploited him and used him and they also used the kid. That's all that was just like a huge like exploitation show, because the show sucked, but it was a way to like make money and get viewers and, just have horrible writing and have an animal and a little kid and oh my gosh, what did you do? Nope. And, what was the line she said? Just like, you'd think, after like traveling through all those planets, it's one of the first lines of the movie. You just hear the mom like, you think after traveling, through all the galaxies and all the planets and everything like that, I could get a better gift than that, but nope. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting placement for that. All right. And now I'm like, ooh, outer space. Anyway. See, I can't talk about this movie even in a linear fashion. It's so all over the place. But exploitation, I started thinking about where Jupe ends up in terms of like you said, like, exploiting these horses and offering them up, and even exploiting the alien, and even exploiting himself to the point where he obviously carries this trauma with him, but he still showcases the tiny secret room, which he probably shows everybody, or at least the people he gets like kind of a good feeling from, the people who he wants to hang around and tell the story, even as he's telling it, and it starts to like the clouds start to gather over his eyes because he was fucking traumatized by it. I think he makes light of it to try and function. But then his cast member was sitting there, the one with the veil, when they were shooting the horses up and everything like that and waiting for it to happen. And you see the veil go up. That's another image that has been all over the internet. Is just, and I didn't see the trailer that had it in it. I guess there was a trailer with it in it, where you just see her lips are missing and you just see teeth and just like jagged, flesh that is barely healed or whatever. It looks like she was a burn victim or something, but Mary Jo, but the chimp ate her face or pulled it off or whatever he did with it. And even exploiting her, and even she's sitting there like, waving and getting applauded by a crowd of 16, 26, I don't know how many people were there.
40 people.
Okay. Yeah. And it's built like a stadium, like, or not, maybe not a stadium, but like there's supposed to be way more people than that. But everything about it just feels so cheap and so exploitative. Yeah. And it just made me feel like this movie was retribution for that kind of behavior. The more you just kind of like keep knocking at the door of opportunity, like, just to be this opportunistic money grubbing like cock goblin who just kind of like, hey, everybody look at this stuff and just knock at it and look. The more you do that, the more it's almost like a dynamite burning, like a wick burning like all the way to the end. It's only a matter of time until that stick explodes.
I mean, everybody in the movie is driven by money in one form or another. Like the siblings, like their whole purpose is to, I mean, they are obviously, falling on hard times. They can't keep their business afloat. They're selling the horses to buy them back, not realizing that he's, offering them up as bait. Right. But their whole, like, they want to get that Oprah shot, as they call it. That's where they want to, chase after this, the alien to get a picture of it. So, the theme is all across the board there.
It did confuse me, because I felt like if everything I said is true about punishment, like this retribution for exploitation, when they all started banding together, because we haven't even talked about the kid from Fry's, which we will, but
the kid from
if that's
Fry's.
the case, Fry's Electronics, the kid, what was it? Angel.
Oh, when you say kid, I think of like a toddler. You know that, right?
He's young. Anyway, but when they all band together to battle the big bad and everything like that, I was wondering, am I supposed to be rooting for them? Because they're not trying to destroy it or anything. They're trying to get their Oprah photo. And then they get it. And I'm like, am I supposed to be happy? Because I'm not.
I mean, I think that's I think that's the relatable aspect to it, because it's like, you know, not everybody is going out there and killing aliens all the time, but there are going to be people who are going to be like, if I can make money off of this, if I can get a picture, that's a more accessible point for people to, you know, get into these characters.
That's sad.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the exploitation and the spectacle of it, like that's the point of it.
I just feel like there was no, again, like it was kind of shapeless, like amorphous, and maybe that's what some people like about it. But because once we got
kind of like the Alien, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, because once those bed sheets got out. It started billowing in the
okay, sky. In its like UFO form.
Yes.
One thing I did notice, which I haven't heard anyone talk about it, and I don't know if this is just me, but the bottom of it looked so much like Jupe's cowboy hat.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Because I was like, there's the one scene where before he goes on and he's in the office with his wife, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna run through, you know, his speech and all that, and she's puts on his hat and then she takes it off and she like flips it around. It's almost like there was this attention being put onto the hat itself, and then, you know, when we finally saw the kind of like what we thought was the ship, you know, coming down and just like being more close to in proximity to them, and I just noticed that, and just like it just kind of like the way that it's not a flat surface, it's kind of like bent upwards. It just looked to me like the bottom side of a cowboy hat. So I thought that maybe if it is like it does shapeshift, that maybe that's one of the it's just kind of like latched onto Jupe, and it's just like, okay, as a way to just kind of be like, I'm gonna, you know, parrot you, and just like this is something that like, you know, because obviously he's looking down on him, he sees the cowboy hat.
So the alien, that's the alien's version of the fist bump from the chimp to Jupe.
Maybe.
Right.
Who knows? And as for like the bed sheets and all that, I don't know. I was like looking at that and I was just like, is this supposed to be some sort of like reproductive organ thing? I don't know what any of that was at the end. It was neat.
I didn't answer your question about the shoe. Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That I saw there were a few videos that like people have like put together entire like 25-minute video essays about the shoe. Yeah. And I didn't watch any of them because I don't know.
I watched kind of one today, and the person was saying that the meaning of the shoe is that it's like a bad miracle, and it saved Jupe's life because he was too busy looking at the shoe and not looking at Gordy. But that doesn't make any sense, because we know that he was looking at Gordy, but the tablecloth was blocking their eye line. So he wasn't looking at the shoe the entire time. So I think that there's got to be a more logical explanation of it, or maybe it's just one of those things that it was just like Jordan Peele being like, I'm gonna put this in here to fuck with people, or he does have a very specific meaning for it, and it's one of those things that's personal to him, and no one else is gonna know about it. It's the Alanis Morissette you ought to know. Jordan Peele.
Or I wonder if it's just like maybe something he saw that he thought was interesting. Maybe one day he was just like watching someone kick off their shoes or something, and one of the shoes that they kicked off didn't land with the bottom part, the part that we were used to seeing. Instead, it just sat there kind of like at 12 noon, like standing straight up, like on its back. I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really need to say anything more about the shoe or any of the Gordy's home stuff, but of the alien, I did like that because it almost like presented this idea that UFOs, or whatever the new term was for them, that they called them, are not actually what we think. Like, we've always just believed them to be like a spaceship, but this movie is sort of like, no, that's an actual like alien entity, like on its own. So I liked that idea because it was very subversive of the like science fiction alien subgenre, but also because it does this thing early on in the movie where when OJ goes out into the stables, and then the aliens just sort of like which was like the freakiest part of the movie, like when the one kid just sort of like out of the darkness rises up, and they're making that like crickety noise. And
the Jupiter's Claim kids,
yeah, and I mean, like when that happened, I'm like, there's no way that this is real, because the movie just started. Like, we're still probably in the first 30 minutes.
I was so hoping it was, though.
But it's too like it's the way that the aliens looked. Like it was just it seemed too easy for a Jordan Peele movie, if that makes sense. So
sure,
I didn't fall for that. But it was then they followed that up very quickly with the praying mantis on the camera lens, which stayed on there until the alien went away. So that begs the question: are praying mantises somehow connected to the alien creature? Are praying mantises aliens themselves? Is that what the movie's saying? And in that regard, maybe the alien isn't an alien, but it's actually just a huge insect. Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe that's the big mystery of Nope, is that it's not aliens, it's insects.
This is the thing. The more it fell into a Jaws kind of situation for me with the movie, because the more I saw of the alien, especially at the reveal, when it was just kind of like, like, look at these billowing fabric sheaths,
pretty,
like whatever they're supposed to be. It was really pretty, but I was like a
Febreze commercial.
I was just like, I'm not about this. I'm not. I couldn't get on board with it. I was just like, whatever it looks like, just can we get rid of it now? I actually was a lot more scared of the fake aliens when they came in, just because, also just like the filmmaking then, the fact that at first I did like a kind of a double take when they first appear, when the first one like appears kind of in the distance, because it's almost like it's kind of in shadow and kind of in light, and you don't really know if you're seeing what you're seeing. So I did like, wait, that's a person. Wait, is that a person? And then when it started to move, I was like, oh! I mean, I totally fell for it. Totally. And then when the other head peeked out, I literally went, ah! And when the time he punched the third one, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, that was really working on me. Well, okay, if those were the fake aliens and that's how I feel about them, the real alien's gonna... No, actually, I found that the lack of the real alien, like the absence of it, less scary than just the open spaces themselves. Something about that kind of remoteness and being able to hear radios play far off in the distance and know who's in there, but you're out in the middle of nowhere and everything's just wide open and dark, and then you can see, like, because you're standing in a particular place, like another structure and I don't like remoteness. I don't like being apart from things, because all of a sudden everything seems plausible. Everything seems like it could happen to you, and it bothers me. It bothers me, and just the likelihood or the anticipation of what could conceivably happen, and listening for things and looking for things. That was some of the best filmmaking, in my opinion, in terms of like the horror-esque aspect.
Yeah.
Those things all worked for me. Just seeing,
I definitely,
like
yeah, I liked the nighttime scenes better than the daytime stuff. The nighttime stuff did feel more horror. The daytime stuff was more action adventure. Like, we're gonna, the paparazzi shows up on the motorcycle, and then she's got to go get the motorcycle, and she's the whole thing at the end there. I enjoyed all that though. Like, it was still fun.
It just felt like a lot of conclusions were being drawn kind of automatically, like, it's because I looked it in the eye, or it's TMZ, or I don't know, just everything. They just seemed to be drawing conclusions, and I was like, wait, where'd you get that? Am I just really dumb? Like, there were a lot of other examples too.
Yeah, there was definitely, it got to a point that it was just like, okay, now we're just going to jump ahead of the audience here, because we got to, we got to get to the end here. But I agree with that. Obviously it's not a perfect movie. Yeah. And I don't think it's a fine movie. I think it was good, and I'm excited to watch it again because I want to see it through a different lens. One thing that I didn't realize until after the fact is that Nope is actually an acronym for Not on Planet Earth.
Oh, I've heard Not of Planet Earth. That was a fan theory. Yeah, that's what it stands for. Jordan Peele neither confirmed nor denied. He just went, oh, like...
No, but I don't even know if this was, like, for the movie. I think that this might have been something that existed, like, predated.
Oh, prior?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Maybe. The only comment I've heard him make about it is just the state of mind when you say it, because he said it could have been called a lot of things. He could have called it, oh hell no, or because he has people say nope. He even has the moment that I talked about with the fake aliens and everything, has my favorite delivery of the word from Daniel Kaluuya when he's just like nope, and he just backs away, just kind of like I'm not fucking with it, I'm not doing it, no. But then there's just like no, like all of these like completely
they just
negative, negatory, good buddy, not happening, happening.
They needed to have Georgina from Get Out come in just to deliver her. No. Oh
my god, that would have been a great title. Just, but that was taken. But I also, I feel like the character who I wish actually, aside from Keith David, I really wish we could have gotten more of him. I wish that he weren't like a ghost in the movie. I wish he could have just been their father and just been part of the movie. Talk about somebody who's watchable. But the one who I kind of like found the most entertaining was Brandon Perea as Angel Torres, as the guy who worked at Fry's Electronics. It made me sad though, because I know that Fry's, it's in Burbank and it's closed. That's why they were allowed to shoot there. It's no longer open, and seeing them shop there broke my heart because I've shopped there so many times. All of the Fry's locations are closed now. They were closed, I believe, before, or I can't remember if they were. I think they were closing or threatening to close before the pandemic, and I think once the onset of the lockdown happened, they just said, "Okay, folks, we're out of business for good." But maybe it's even been longer than that. They were a wonderful alternative to Best Buy. And every single location had a different theme, so that flying saucer crashing into the front of the store, that's an actual design. It was all outer space themed.
I feel like
the one closest to me was Alice in Wonderland themed.
Yeah, I feel like he would be the Matt Hooper character of this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, the one who you're just kind of like, let's follow him.
Yeah, he has the the insight, or just like at least the passion for
the
aliens
asides. He's the character who says things under his mouth, under his breath, that nobody else can hear but we can. And
so maybe we haven't learned from the mistakes of the 70s. We're still putting the less interesting characters at the forefront, while the more relatable ones are just shoved to the side to just
I'm glad he was in it as much as he was. I was glad he was in it as much as he was.
To take away anything from Daniel and Kiki, but I feel like with them, it's like if you took the other one away, they basically, like, you have to have both of them there. Otherwise, the other they would cease to be interesting. They're more of just like a yin and yang that play off of each other.
But there was also something about the way Angel was handled that didn't leave me. I would love to have seen more, because I really liked the work he was doing and everything. And he's a young actor. This is like the biggest credit he's had. I think he did some YouTube dance show for a while, and I think that's it. But he was the one character who I feel like I got kind of the perfect amount of. Like, I got just enough to feel like I know him, and I got just enough to feel entertained by him. And I felt like the way he was handled, I didn't have any notes. I was just kind of like, this is good. Whereas with Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya, I was just kind of like, I need more. I need more either connectivity between them or even more animosity. I need them to either kind of have the fight, or I need them to really band together, because that was another thing that was like a hole missing for me in the end. The climax where they're kind of divided by, I don't know, what was it, like a quarter of a mile or half a mile, and the alien is like in between them, and it can't really seem to decide which one it's going to go for, and he's obviously trying to bait it, so, whatever. And then they have the exchange where he does the thing because he could see her when they were kids, and I know I think I was supposed to feel something at that moment, and I felt absolutely nothing. And I am primed for moments like that. Sibling shit usually works on me, and especially in dire consequences and everything, and all of it, I was just kind of like, the work. They did the work, but I don't feel like the movie did to like get
the writing.
Me like,
didn't do the work.
You didn't earn this moment.
I agree with that. I feel that you definitely get that sense of history from them, and this established, like, they had great chemistry. But to take it back to another newly released movie that we did recently with The Black Phone, which had siblings in there too, like, we actually get to see the interactions, like, we get to feel the heart of that, and it just like it's even though the writing of the story might not have been as good in that movie, I feel that the characters, for the most part, with an exclusion of the main villain of that movie, were very well written. Whereas with Nope, I think that the story was well written. Like, it was interesting. Like, I mean, I know for you got fidgety, but it kept my attention through most of it. I do agree that the characters, just in terms of like the main characters, there could have been more to it, not with the performances, but with how they were written. So I'm just, like always, like the same thing but different of just how we're gonna say it. But
no, I'm glad you brought up The Black Phone though, because you're reminding me, even though I had a lot of notes for that movie, I got the scene in that movie that I needed for that relationship, which is, for me, it was after she gets beaten by her father, and the little girl, I can't remember her name, goes over to her brother. I think he's watching television, and just sitting on the floor, and she goes and just sits right next to him and just puts her head on his shoulder. That was all I needed. That gave me, I feel for these kids. I know who you are. and I'm in your experience. I'm gonna root for you now.
After her Nancy Thompson moment of throwing the vodka on the floor.
And even
it was a totally different podcast, but
Jesus. But anyway, I needed very different moments. But I needed. But again, even that moment, I know the dynamic of that relationship. I mean, the soft moment for Nancy and her mother, for me, is when she puts her to bed. I don't think we even talked about that in the pod for Nightmare on Elm Street, but is when she puts her mother to bed and you can see the role reversal.
We can talk about that when we get to the end, but for the
children.
But
but anyway, but I got that moment, so I feel like I got like the big zoom, on the brother and zoom on the sister, and look how much meaning is transpired between them and everything like that. And I was just missing a scene. I needed a moment. I needed something else to make me go. There you are.
Yeah, I get the shared history. There's even like, oh, remember this horse, and you'd be like, no, it actually was this one, or just like this typical banter. But for the most part, it just seemed like they were kind of indifferent to one another. That's the most I got out of their relationship was indifference. They do have some moments here and there where it's just kind of like, they have their little handshake thing that they do, and they have their little moments where they're talking, and obviously, they're going in with this thing together, purchasing the equipment and setting it up and wanting to get that Oprah shot. But you're absolutely right. Like their story as characters is entirely plot driven when it probably should have been character driven. Maybe that was where Jordan Peele might have missed the mark with this movie.
Maybe, but the tension is undeniable for me in that whole other branch on the television set. Every time we came back to it, I was like, why are we, in the best way, I was like, why are we coming back here? I don't feel safe here. I did absolutely feel the danger in a way I wanted to in the climax of the movie. But that, and everything about that exchange between the chimpanzee and Jupe, up leading up to the fist bump and everything like that, I couldn't even trust it once they were fist bumping, because I was like, how long before... Even though they're looking at each other through that mesh, like, what?
Oh, I was just going to say, do we know definitively that was the time that the first exploding fist bump actually came about the public consciousness?
I
was just like how he describes is that Gordy's home was the inventor of the exploding.
Yeah. Right. I can neither confirm nor deny, but it's the explosion that transpires there, because that's another thing that, like, I don't know, all of that seemed. Yeah. I felt like I was getting. Oh, because that's one thing we haven't talked about. If there is something I might key into this second viewing, it's the dreamlike atmosphere of the entire movie. I really felt like I was just having a fucking dream because of how much stuff was just happening, and because of how underdeveloped for me the story was. It just seemed kind of shapeless and amorphous, like a dream can. And it felt at the end of it like it was trying to kind of like have some shape, like trying to have some kind of, with the climax. And maybe it just maybe that was the thing. Maybe it needed to just be more amorphous. Maybe it should have just been a series of clips and just kind of leave it in your lap and just kind of like, you figure it out. What do you think? That maybe Jordan Peele should have really embraced people, hunting like they're hunting for Easter eggs, for symbolism in every pocket of what he does. Just give us a completely subjective, experimental project and just pure cinema. What did you get from it? I would almost probably prefer that, actually. Because the one thing I did leave feeling like, well, if I had to sleep, if I had to watch this movie, because I saw it in the morning, if I had to see it at night and then just go to bed, I would worry about my brain. I'd be like, what am I gonna carry with me? What the fuck am I gonna dream about tonight? And that's kind of like Dread, like horror movie working its magic on your brain. I don't know. I'm just clutching at straws now, trying to find more positive things to say. But it was fine. It was fine. Yeah. I'll see it again. I will see it again. I can't say the same about The Black Phone, actually, but I will see this movie again.
No, that's totally fair. Well, I think that maybe we'll call this one an early one and get to the cherry picker. All right, first order of business. We need to pick a cherry on top for Nope. I want to put the feelers out there for you, see what you got to say.
I feel like Angel Torres is the cherry on top. He's the Hooper of the movie. He's the only one I didn't have any complaints about easily. And the most watchable, and not just because he's aesthetically pleasant. I mean, the boy is pretty. But he was so good. He was just so good. And I liked everything about how they handled his character, so...
Okay. Yeah, I have no complaints with that. I definitely... The only other person I was going to think of would have been OJ.
Okay.
But again, it's just like, that's okay. Because he, like you said, he is the Brody of the movie. But I'd prefer him over Emerald just because, sometimes we don't need that much energy, So
I think it's because if we were to own either one of those people, you would be OJ and I would be Emerald. I think that's why.
Maybe.
If we ever play those parts, if we ever do a dramatic reading, you will play OJ and I will
we'll
play
just
Emerald.
we'll just do all that'll be is the scene of her reciting the story of the history, and I'll just be in there and be like, great.
There's another grade in there. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, fun.
And that's
let's do that.
No, okay. So I agree with that. Angel Torres.
Yes.
For cherry on top. Yeah. Okay. Now, cherry picker. Last week, we asked you who deserves to die the most in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
I said Mr. Lance, a.k.a. Glenn's dad. You said Lieutenant Donald Thompson across
AKA
Patreon.
Nancy's dad.
Yeah, well, everyone knows that. Patreon, Instagram, YouTube. The vote was 465 for Glenn's dad versus 144 for Nancy's dad.
That surprised me.
Not at all for me. I'm surprised that there was 144 people who thought that Lieutenant Donald Thompson was more deserving. What I'm curious, before we even get to the comments, like, why Nancy's dad rather than Nancy's mom? Explain that to me.
Because I feel like Nancy's mom actually, I don't know if it's redemption, but because number one, we've said this before about heavy characters, like the heavies versus the script, like the villains of the piece or whatever. If they're entertaining and if there's camp, then they're probably not. They probably don't belong in the cherry picker. And I don't. She's so campy. I adore watching her. So that's why I don't want her to die.
I guess I just
enjoy
don't
watching her far too much.
Yeah, I don't get that much enjoyment out of her character. I mean, she's all right,
I totally do.
But I think that just in terms of those two as guardians over Nancy, I feel so much more safe with with John Saxon, or just her as her dad, because even that moment when he shows up,
right move.
But it has nothing to do with and she does. Come on, it has nothing. No,
but
to
when
do
she makes the wrong moves, it's hilarious.
Fine. All I'm saying is that I feel safer for Nancy when her dad is there versus when her mom is there, because her mom is doing things that are just completely counterproductive to Nancy's well-being.
But Nancy can handle her mother. I think the fact that her mother is not really a direct threat, like even when she sees the bars in the windows, what is her tack? She opens the door, slams it, goes, "Mother!" and handles it. And also because of the way that relationship ends. And I don't mean at the end of the movie. I mean when she's putting her mother to bed and when her mother is so helpless and telling her that her strength is that she faces things. And Nancy is at such a loss that all she can do, the only thing she can think to say is, "I love you," to her mother. And there's something about, I don't know, that kind of gentility being shared between a mother and a daughter that, if it doesn't redeem the character for me, it makes her only even more interesting. And Donald does not have any moments like that with his daughter, let's say certainly in the first movie, and I won't spoil the rest of the franchise. So yeah, the fact that,
I don't know. I think that moment when he
I love
shows
John
up,
Saxon, but the character is one note. The character is one note.
When he shows up after Glenn dies and just has that look, the glance between them through the window. Nothing is said, but I just feel like, Nancy. It's just like he gave Nancy the strength in that moment to just be able to do what she needed to do.
I don't like his disbelief. It's just
and
like when she's talking to him about what she wants to happen.
Neither of the parents
that's exactly
had
what
any
you
belief.
Need, princess.
Neither of the parents had any belief in her, but at least one was more stable. I'll just
one didn't. But well, we could argue about this until
one.
the cows come home.
She was gonna put her. I know, but I'm just baffled about the John Saxon.
No.
Pick. Okay.
I've explained it as well as I think I ever can.
All right. Let's get to the comments then.
Yeah.
Dayman, Fighter of the Night. A tough one.
Yay!
Tough one.
Breathe.
I'm trying.
I like the name.
Tough one. While both are basically the same character, the dad's inaction led to a death. So I guess my vote is for the dad. I'm assuming he means Glenn's dad. Disclaimer, right. I haven't seen the film in ages, so I'm going from memory, and New Nightmare is really the only one in the franchise that I actively choose to go back and rewatch. I really enjoy this podcast, by the way. Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's sweet. Thanks.
Preach. Silent Saturn. I can only assume Eddie meant to go for the other cop, Sergeant Parker, that idiot that just stood there wondering if Nancy might be trying to tell him something while she's literally smashing in the windows, screaming at the top of her lungs. He'd totally get my vote. Otherwise, it's Glenn's dad. Get my dad, hilarious. You asshole!
Yes, but I mean, without him, we don't get that moment. So no, I can't. I mean, I understand. I am so happy that you commented that, but no. He's necessary for the movie.
Thomas Baker says, Glenn's dad is the reason that Glenn is dead, so my vote goes to him. Crazy Craft 900 says, Glenn, dad, he didn't even react to his son's death, and he stared at Nancy while she was getting dressed, and Judge Donald was great in the movie. I completely lost that thread, but
okay.
But thanks for the vote my way.
Thanks for trying. Yeah.
Norma Paniche. Come on, y'all. I like Nancy's dad, but he used his daughter as bait to nab Rob Lane. Plus, seems like absentee dad. Maybe it's also because I felt so sorry for Glenn's dad and how he cried for son. He had good intentions and just didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to make a case for Glenn's dad, certainly, but he did have that reaction, just like they said. The one before said he had no reaction to his son's death, and when he walked in and saw the puddle, he was like, "Oh my god," and walked away. Yeah. So he did have a reaction. Like
maybe it was more like a he didn't like the sight of blood. Some people get a little squeamish.
I don't think so. I do think his actions were definitely terrible and had horrible repercussions, but I think they were driven by, I think he thought he was doing the right thing for his son. I don't think it redeems him, but I do believe that.
Blueberry says maybe Tina's mom.
Oh, she's pretty well.
How about the mom's boyfriend?
Oh, that should have definitely been a contender. I didn't even think about him, but because he's gross. Yeah, I hate him. I actually kind of feel bad for her mom because just before she leaves, before she closes the door, she gives one more look at Tina, and there's the faintest hint of, should I stay? Should I talk to her? And she just exits. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you should have talked to your daughter. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all these parents, they all know the same thing. They all have the shared history of taking out the Krugs. Somebody says Glenn's dad. And Eric J says, you're not going to need a stretcher. You're going to need a mop. And then a little blood drop emoji.
Oh, man.
So, nope. Let's see. Who in Nope is the most deserving? Honestly, I'm gonna say Jupe, because he was just taking those horses out there and feeding them to the alien irresponsibly. I mean, those were horses that Daniel was gonna buy, or OJ was gonna buy back. He basically is sending his kids off in the middle of the night dressed up like aliens. This is in the States, where, I guess this is California. It's not, one of the the more...
Oh, in Agua Dulce.
Yeah.
In Agua Dulce, yeah.
But that's pretty dangerous. You're just you're out in the middle of nowhere. You're gonna send your kids.
It's a desert.
Yeah, you're gonna send your kids out onto a neighboring property where people might have firearms and scare them. I mean, the one kid gets punched in the face, which that's pretty bad. And then they're screaming like, "This is our land," or something like that. Like,
I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, why? Because I guess he wanted to buy the ranch off of them, but just teaching your sons to be D-bags, and the exploitation of it all, and also the weird thing he says to Mary Jo when he just says, "You're my first crush," or whatever. And that was confusing. Weren't they playing siblings?
Yeah.
On the show? Okay.
But I mean, that was not uncommon for kids playing siblings. Like I always remember hearing about the Brady Bunch at one point. Yeah. Every one of the sets of kids in the Brady Bunch who were age, matched, dated.
I thought he meant like my first on-screen crush or something something he said.
No.
I don't know. Anyway, he killed all the horses, except for Lucky, because it's Lucky, and all the people there. And can we talk about how that was one thing I forgot to mention? How gross that fucking the innards of the alien.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
It was like a laundry chute.
Yeah, that got closer and closer. That was actually. I'm not necessarily a torture porn aficionado. I have my predilections here and there for a particular fare, but for particular examples of torture porn or whatever. But with that, I could have gone for more. Like watching kind of like the digestion of those people, the close up of the weird, still like caught between like what looks like fabric sheets, but then they're slowly getting narrower and they're just screaming and panicking. Mm-hmm. The claustrophobia of it, the being eaten by something. I've been scared of that ever since I was a kid, and I watched Pinocchio and watching Get Swallowed by a Whale. So like being eaten by things, and then later seeing Jaws and watching the big shark eat fucking what's his name, Shaw. But yeah, all of that, Quint. But all of that, I could have gone with even more of that. Like show me some digestion, show me some mastication of spectators. Show me some retribution.
We just got the excretion. That was
yeah. We got the watches and the what else fell from the sky? Oh, the keys.
Well, yeah,
the key fell down and or I thought it was a key, but whatever.
The key went into the horse, but the coin went into Keith David's eye.
Like slit it, fell down and whatever. Yeah, what a mess.
Anyway, my vote is for Jupe.
Okay.
Jupe.
I know who I'm choosing then. Because definitely he was on the roster, but I was torn between the two of them, so I'm glad that at least his neck is on the chopping block. Yeah. Because the other one is Antlers Hoist, who we didn't even talk about because he's such a non-fucking character in this movie.
I didn't even know his name.
I know. He's the cinematographer who they call up, and he's like in the big scary chair or whatever, and he's just watching all this footage of like, I don't know, animals getting eaten and horrible things happening, like nature devouring nature, and I guess maybe that's supposed to play on spectacle or something. But he had such a setup. That was actually probably one of the most Spielbergian things for me, was like so upfront with just kind of like imagery that's supposed to kind of like give us insight into like who this man is or like who this character is supposed to be, and everything like that. Yet absolutely no work was done to make him to create a real reason for why he needed to be there. Like they could have taken the damn photo themselves. They could have gotten a film camera their damn selves. And then the fact that he's the one who kind of walks away with the footage, and doesn't he like, I barely remember, but doesn't he like walk away with it because he decides that some things need to remain unknown or something like that, and then he gets devoured by the thing and destroys the film and the camera, so the Oprah shot is gone. And I was like, what the fuck is that about? Like he just the most unnecessary character in the movie for me, who plays the biggest role in terms of like what happens to the things we're supposed to care about, and yet I still don't know why. I don't know why he did what he did. I don't know why they needed him. I like really needed him, and it made me upset. I would excise him from the movie. He's one of my biggest notes, actually, one of my biggest criticisms. So if you took him out, you could still have the same movie.
Maybe that would be the.
And
that would be the 40 minutes that could have...
exactly, that I want to take out of the movie. Well, I was going to say
that they needed him because because they couldn't have any sort of electronic cameras.
Right.
Because every time the alien was near, it would...
But they know people. They can find someone to loan them a film camera or to rent it to them at least if they have the money, and... I don't know. They can figure it out. And also just like their with their contact with Angel at Fry's, like maybe he knows somebody. He could have been like a little cinema student or something like that and still have like a 35 millimeter or 8 millimeter or 16 millimeter or something, there's ways around it. Like a non-character, boring. We didn't even talk about him. That's how much he deserves to die and just not exist in this movie. Period. That's my choice. Vote your conscience, vote your heart.
And you can do that on Patreon, Instagram, or YouTube, the community section. Our Instagram handle is the Cherry Picker Pod. If you would like to support us on Patreon, you will get to see these episodes released earlier than their Tuesday release date. But I do want to welcome some new Patreon supporters. So, welcome to Preston Mitchell, Will Sternick, Robbie Sebastio, Nick, and Strange Girl.
Yay! Welcome, everybody.
Welcome aboard. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And also a shout out, I mentioned him before, but Andre for editing these episodes. If you are supporting us on Patreon under the Freddy Krueger tier or higher, this month's bonus episode of the Cherry Picker After Dark, we are going to be discussing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the first season, and we're eventually going to get through all of them.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that. Just discussing and ranking every episode within that first season, which will be exciting. We're very excited.
I wonder how much we'll agree on. I can't wait to see.
It's always, you never know whenever you and I get to ranking things. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, it's going to be released on my Patreon, Zack Cherry, on I believe August 24th. Yes, that's the date we decided. August 24th. So look out for it then. Every month we have a bonus episode for you guys. Last month we did the Final Girls ranking of 85 of them. Speaking of ranking episodes, other than that, if you guys are new to the Cherry Picker here, and if you're listening to us, you can watch us on YouTube. Just look up the Cherry Picker there. And if you are watching us on YouTube, you can also listen to it on all the podcast streaming platforms. Just go to the descriptions down below. The RSS feed link is there. Social media, where can they find you?
If you just can't get enough of me on the Cherry Picker pod, look for me on YouTube. Edward is Truth. That's the name of my channel, all one word. Edward is Truth. Watch me watch movies and react. You get to see what it's like to sit next to me in a movie that I don't mind talking through. That's kind of like how I watch movies with my sister if we've already seen them, and sometimes if we haven't, and we just feel like it's talkable. Also, look for me on Instagram. That is my social platform, at Edward is Truth, one word. I post things every day and do very little else. How about you, Zack Cherry?
Do you post like every day? Do you make a post or like
in my story?
Okay, yeah.
In my story.
Well, yeah,
that's all anybody checks anymore. Is the stories is all anybody checks anymore. Yeah. Yeah,
but I don't know what's going on with Instagram. It's weird. They're trying to be TikTok or something like that, but
they're trying and then they're rescinding, and I think it's because Facebook owns Instagram, and that's largely the way of Facebook is. What are other people doing? We have to do it.
Yeah, I like Instagram because it's not TikTok. Me too. But I mean that's just not that I don't like TikTok. I just don't understand it because I'm too old.
Yeah, I think we're too old.
But for me. If you want to look for me on my socials, you can find me on Instagram at RetroBitchface, on Twitter at ZackCherry8, and my YouTube channel, my main YouTube channel, is simply just Zack Cherry. That's Zack with a K. But other than that, what do we got going on next week?
Single white female. I need to make it sound important. I don't know.
It's very important. This is like the 90s trash that we need to break up all the new releases and the big franchises. This is just this will be our week coming up where we can just like watch I don't know. We'll see it again, but I think it'll just sit back and something to enjoy, something mindless. It's
a 90s thriller staple.
Something that like this is like compared to Nope, where we have to sit here and think. I want a movie where I don't have to think about anything. I just need to watch and enjoy. So that's what we got going on next week. Anyway, thank you all for watching, for listening, and we will be right back.